Hello and welcome to Scott Rock.
We're your hosts from Climb Scotland, Robert Mackenzie
And me, Cal McBain, catch up with climbers every 2 weeks who have different epic tales to tell us.
We hope you enjoy the show.
And remember, when you're out climbing, be safe and do your buddy checks.
How long is it going to be before Adam Andres starts getting sponsored by like baby food and baby clothing?
Is there not?
So
Someone
Has
says
to
to
be
me,
somewhere.
did you not used
He's
to
got a kid. He has to be sponsored by some.
He used to be sponsored by the cricket protein thing,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
Did I know Rebekah? Was that me imagining that?
No.
No, that was the cocaine one.
Yeah.
Cocaine?
Yeah.
Climbers, cocaine.
Yeah, because
it's the cocaine
Climberism did like a wee thing on it because it was like, "Hi, I'm Adam Mondra and this is my cricket thing." But he did like a Climberism version where it was like, "Hi, I'm Adam Mondra and recently I tried cocaine."
Yeah.
And it was like because the cricket powder was like it didn't really look like cocaine. It looked like heroin, to be honest. Kind of like brown.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, there.
No, but I just know the heroin is more of a goldy brown color, isn't it? Golden brown, texture like sun. Anyway, should we just get on with this?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have to cut all that.
David, are you recording this?
Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
Definitely going to have to cut.
Oh
that
my
out.
god.
That's...
Man, delete that right now.
No, read that for blackmail.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, right, okay. Serious. We are back for the third iteration of the controversial podcast with Callum McBain, Rebekah Drummond, and I was going to steal your joke, Robbie Phillips. I was going to do it. I'm trying to be serious and I can't do it.
You actually forgot someone.
Who did I forget?
Well, Robert,
Me.
Callum, Becca,
Nice.
Robbie. There is a fifth human at the table.
Let's get at the table. Baby Roo is going to be the most energetic of hosts.
There we go.
Yeah, and asleep. Good.
More responsible for unusual noises that might come up throughout the podcast.
It could be a toss-up. Any weird noises could be Roo or Robbie. Right, so we are
What's the Scott Rock podcast?
Scott Rock podcast.
Third version of the.
Is this the third one?
This is the third controversial podcast.
I've only been in one. Involved one.
No, you were in both
Two.
of them.
Well, I was in two of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
This should have been episode 30, but it will officially be episode 32, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're a little bit behind on this one. And given the feedback last time that we weren't controversial enough, I'm hoping that we've picked controversial enough topics. And if the topics aren't controversial enough, then we're just going to shout swears at each other until someone's pissed off. So this is going to work. Robbie, you're going to kick us off. What is your first question?
So my controversial topic surrounds the world of digital media in the climbing world. So social media and video platforms are increasingly rewarding certain kinds of content. Generally, the shorter, snappier, more consumable content. And my question is, are we in an age of fast food climbing content where this content hooks you in, is easily enjoyable, but leaves you hungry for more? Do we need a more nutritionally rich and substantial content diet, much like our own nutritional needs as human beings? We need fiber, protein, and fats. Do we need to inform, educate, and entertain whilst creating content for social media and online platforms?
That was like sitting in front of YouTube watching one of your videos.
You should get a job with the BBC.
Yeah, that was good. That was really good.
6 o'clock news.
6 o'clock news, Robbie Phillips.
My own question feels very inadequate now.
God.
Well, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Before I forget what I actually said there.
Basically, is Instagram the devil in terms of climbing?
Well, it's not necessarily is Instagram the devil. It's like, because I've always felt that there's some content that feels very wholesome. It portrays climbing in a sort of natural way.
Are you talking about your own channel?
That's what I was going to say.
Of course. Well, we use mine as an example of what the peak of wholesome content is. And I'm not going to mention other names, but I do feel like that there is that sort of content that is a bit more wholesome, a bit more natural, and then you get other channels which I feel they tend to repurpose a lot of original content. So their actual content isn't original. They repurpose it and package it into something new. It's generally quite like fast-paced, gets to the point quick. It's very digestible, but sometimes I feel it maybe only satisfies the entertainment side of things. It doesn't necessarily inform or educate. I don't necessarily think that it always portrays climbing in the best light, and I often think that, you know, with beginner climbers or younger climbers who are spending a lot of time online watching climbing videos, consuming this content, it is going to, I guess, that's what they're going to think climbing is this sort of stuff, you know. And I don't know, I have felt for some time that perhaps maybe that is the sort of fast, you know,
does make climbing more accessible to the masses. Then you said it was easily digestible, which it'll show up in like a wider variety of people's feeds, and could make climbing look more appealing to younger people. Because on one end of the spectrum, I feel like we've got Dave McLeod, 3-hour keto video. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got a 3-second reel about dinos that you've like scrolled through. And for quite a lot of the younger demographic, that is going to appeal. The 3-second reel is going to appeal a lot more to making people want to go climbing than the like 3-hour video on placing gear.
I guess
it depends on what the purpose of it is. Like, if you're trying to get more people into climbing, like all these fast-paced things are going to reach that audience that maybe aren't climbers and digest it on reels and stuff on Instagram and maybe think that looks really cool and get into it. But it does completely miss the point of what climbing, I'm going to say it, what climbing should be. You know, it misses all of the passion behind it. It misses all of the culture behind it.
Well, that's kind of what I do feel, and it's not that I don't think that type of content has a place, but I feel that it is becoming more and more the majority. And
I'm going to argue that it shouldn't have a place, because
well, it's the same as like fast food, right? I think fast food has a place.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. And the majority of people don't have time.
You've been watching
to make...
too many of Dave McLeod's videos.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're not. I don't necessarily think that eating a hamburger patty 4 times a day is necessarily the best nutritional value. You know, the best way to get all your nutrient needs for every day. But I don't think that having the occasional hamburger out of McDonald's is the worst thing in the world. So I guess, and I guess the other thing as well is a lot of these platforms or these channels that are creating this type of content. The question I pose is, who are they making this content for? Why are they making it? Yeah, I feel that they're making it for higher likes, higher traffic, more engagement, so that they themselves can make more money, sell more product, get more marketing.
Yeah, surely the format of the entertainment, whether it's like a 3-hour YouTube video, a blog that's written words, or like a 3-second reel, is like irrelevant. It is like what the intention of that person is doing. Are they just doing it to sell their product, or are they trying to tell a story?
Exactly, and I think that's a really interesting point to make, because, well, TikTok as a platform is an interesting one, because I have for quite a long time kind of hated TikTok, because I thought that TikTok was largely just like people dancing and making silly videos, and I was like, well, what's the point of that? But actually, there is quite a lot of interesting content on TikTok, a lot of creators who make very interesting, valuable, informative videos. And so, I don't know.
It depends what's in the content. Like, yes, you can do short little clips that are informative. You know, like me and Callum just created a bunch of like auto belay videos that were under a minute long that teach you how to be safe in an auto belay. But there's far too much random crap videos out there, like Whipper Media and all that just show people falling off because it's the cool thing to watch.
But see,
But like the intention there is they want to make money out of getting more views.
Yeah.
Because they sell adverts.
Yeah.
That's like how they make money. And the
Yeah.
more people that watch, the more money they make. Their intention isn't to demonstrate safety about following.
No, absolutely. And
Whereas
like,
our autobee
like,
videos they were short. They were like what you're talking about, that like fast food style of video. But the purpose of them was people are dying in autobelays, so we need to send out some kind of message that might stop someone dying.
But like that's what I'm saying. It's like you can get short videos that are actually quite good, or you can get short videos that just show cool stuff that people might be entertained watching, and that is it. Not showing the culture of the sport, the history of the sport, the social side of the sport, or anything. And like snowboarding, for me, is a really good example of like when Red Bull stepped into the snowboarding world and started all these like crazy competitions and big showcasey things and all this video content. All it ever showed was the rad stuff, the biggest tricks, the biggest airs. Nothing about the culture of snow sports in any way. And it totally missed the point of people are getting into this for the passion of the sport. Now you're only showcasing people getting into it because they can do cool stuff. And snowboarding has, as a culture, has taken a massive shift away. And the more we showcase stuff like that in climbing, the more we're going to lose that.
Exactly, and it's a very good point that you made about like the biggest, the most badass, the scariest.
Yeah.
And that is something you see a lot in YouTube, is that to try and get more people to watch, they always title everything with the superlatives.
Yeah.
They go, the scariest, or the biggest fall, or the most extreme. And I will admit, early,
I was like literally waiting.
I think over the last 3 years, I've kind of gone through a bit of like a bit of a journey with YouTube, trying to understand like exactly how it is I create videos, what I'm creating videos to do, how I promote these videos, what it is I'm trying to do with them, yeah. And early on, obviously you did some of those things where I was like, I titled the video like the biggest 50-foot fall or whatever, because that's what I thought.
Was the video I was thinking of.
Yeah, because that's what I thought. That's what you did. Yeah.
That was YouTube.
Yeah.
That's
And that was
what
what YouTube. And I
Big
realized, but that's actually not me, and that's not actually climbing to me,
Yeah.
So why am I doing this? I'm just following what everybody else is doing. So in recent times, the last sort of like year or so, I've changed it. I'm trying to like create what I would reckon in my eyes is probably more natural, more personal, I don't know, way of making videos and promoting them on YouTube. So yesterday, like I put out a new film on my channel, which is Robbie Phillips YouTube channel, and you can watch it. Shut up, Robert. I'm
just gonna edit this out. It's shameless self.
What are you talking about? I'm not in. 5 people are going to listen to this.
Has it got like the world's has it got the biggest flipper you've ever seen?
Well, it's got like a big section of bowl climbing, and I thought, I was like, what I could do? I could go.
That's what she thinks about you. You upset the child.
Not another video, Robbie.
I've lost my train of thought, to be honest. Where was I?
I feel like we're all kind of agreeing a bit too much here. Someone's got to fight the case for.
So, but you're all wanting to. You don't like this kind of fast-paced stuff that's not showing the culture of climbing, etc., blah blah blah. But that's the culture of climbing in your eyes. You only like content that shows the culture of climbing that you like, that personally that you think that climbing is, that what climbing is to you. So if you see content that shows climbing in a different light, what climbing is to someone else, you don't agree with it, basically.
No, it's not that. It's just that I don't agree when people are monopolizing on that content to sell their own agenda.
If they portrayed climbing the way you like it and they still made money from the ads, would it be okay?
I don't like. It's not that I don't have a problem with people making money out of climbing, but it's when the only reason they're doing that is purely to make money. There's no value behind it apart from stripping money off people by abusing the fact folk have a short attention span. They don't have a story to tell, there's nothing behind it. they want money from ads, and they'll do anything in order to achieve that.
Yeah, and I think, as I said before, a lot of these channels that are doing this are repurposing other people's content as their own.
It's not original, yeah.
It's not original.
Right. So.
Like at least when Dave McLeod or me or like another one of the sort of like channels that actually just goes out and gets footage, it's all our own footage.
It's doing a disservice to them as well, because you've went to the effort to go and film things, and people are just essentially stealing that to profiteer off of it for no real not adding any value into the world. You've added value into the world. I'm being nice to you, Robbie. You've added value into the world by going out and doing something which is difficult and then kind of showing it to other people.
I mean, I think we can all agree that's bad.
That's bad.
That's making money off of somebody else's work. But I think what Robert was talking about was that he doesn't like fast-paced, consumable.
But see, I don't have something against it. I think it's, as I said, it's like it's part of it. You know, if it's part of a healthy, balanced diet. Yeah, you can have a bit of fast food, but just not when everything's fast food. And I feel like using YouTube as an example, the trend, if you look at climbing channels, is to create stuff like this. And a great example actually is sorry guys, I'm going to use my example again. But I recently made a film called Not a Hope in Hawaii. You can see it on the YouTube channel, right? And it's 50 minutes long. And I got told by several professional filmmakers that it's too long, that it shouldn't be longer than 20 minutes. And I was like, but the film's 50. And he was like, well, you've made it too long. And I'm like, why is that too long? Because I think that tells a story.
We get told our podcast's too long all the time.
I'd agree, because you guys are shit.
It should end far sooner.
But like you said earlier, like TikTok, you were describing TikTok, like you can make good little informative clips on TikTok. But these little videos, they're lost in a sea of utter nonsense. And the more that stuff gets put out there, the more it's diluting the culture image that we could be putting out there in videos like yours, Robbie. Yeah,
but surely all our ideas
kids, people that are coming into the sport and kids that are coming up through the sport, this is all they're seeing. This is all the information that they're seeing, and because those really informative bits are getting lost, their view on what climbing is getting tainted a little bit. Yeah. So then when they are, grown up and they can start considering themselves climbers, this is what their attitude to climbing is going to be. It's just going out there and doing the raddest stuff, the biggest dinos, pulling on the smallest holds. And it's not got nothing anymore to do about culture or the social side or the history of climbing.
But surely all those things are personal anyway. Like there's not some like collective.
All those things are personal, but a sport only has a culture when there's a collective group that all follows that culture.
But if you start ramming your culture down other people's throats, then it's...
Yeah, but that culture has been built over generations of climbers coming through it and investing in it. When you've got a population that has been diluted by nothing more than who can do the biggest dyno, then that culture that was there gets diluted to the point where it doesn't exist.
Well, that's because climbing's supposed to be kind of counterculture, but if everyone's suddenly the counterculture, then it's no longer...
Can I put another point forward? See the actual climbing in itself. Like, people going out climbing and the way they enjoy climbing, that's fine, as long as it doesn't harm anybody else. But what's one thing I guess that's interesting to me is like what young climbers think being a good climber is. Now, in the past, being a good climber was going out climbing, putting up first ascents, or trying to climb the next hardest grade, or improving your own. A lot of young climbers now think that being a good climber is having a big Instagram following, is having lots of likes on your like very curated pictures of yourself, making sure that you have the right pictures of yourself climbing. And if you're going out climbing, nobody's going out climbing without a camera, because would you ever go out climbing without a camera?
No, because if it's not on Instagram, it didn't exist.
Exactly.
You're being very I feel like we're being unforgiving to young climbers in a way.
No. I'm not saying this is all young climbers. I'm just saying this is the...
No, but they're not able to form their own opinions outside of Instagram.
This is a journey that is young climbers...
Is that a serious point?
No, as in that is what that's opinion that is being given off, that young climbers are not able to...
That's what I mean about sure. We're not giving them enough credit. Like, I don't think young climbers...
using young climbers. I'm talking about climbers that are coming into the sport, whether they're adults or kids. You know, they're coming into the sport, and
Yeah.
this is the media that they're seeing, and that is shaping their view of what the sport is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah?
So is your problem with the media being short or the message behind the media?
The message behind the media.
So
the
if-
reason it's being
Right,
created.
theoretical, if we took all these clips you're talking about, like the short, attention spanny, fast food stuff,
Yeah.
and it all suddenly changed overnight to being like purposeful and having messages,
Mhm.
you wouldn't have a problem with it.
Not at all. Not in the slightest.
And
So you don't have it's just a problem with you don't have a problem
Length
with
of video makes no difference to me. It's what's in the content.
it's the
makes a difference.
intention, right?
Yes. It's what's in the content that is the issue to me. The length of video makes no difference because, like you said, you can make really good, informative, short 30-second clips. You can. It exists.
Yeah. Do you know what the problem is that you can't actually control this sort of stuff?
No.
Because people, we're all just humans. You know, we're all just we're susceptible to this, all the same addictions. You know, and like you put on like this really fast-paced content, like all the silly stuff that you see on like TikTok and Instagram,
Yeah.
and people just get addicted to it, and it's impossible to get rid of. It's happening, but it's an interesting point to discuss.
And before that, you'd go and watch the funnies on TV. You'd go and watch You've Been Framed, and that was good.
But the problem is
But-
that You've Been Framed was on at like one point in time of the day. Now
Yeah.
you get it all the time on your phone.
Yeah.
So kids and young people and you know, they're just addicted to their phones.
I think that coming back to your point, so we're talking about the intention being the problem, but like, I don't know about you guys, but I really struggle now with my own attention span to watch longer like videos or any form of media, whether it's written or visual based, that takes a longer amount of time. And I think like the actual shortness of videos is damaging in a way because it has like, I think it's definitely affected my attention span and made it worse.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
You're just being ingrained every single day into only being able to digest like a short video.
Mhm.
So it's not just the message in a way. I think there is an argument that really short videos are, I don't know if harmful is the right word, but they do change what you're able to process.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody's like disagreeing with that. It's like, how do you change that? How do you?
I think as long
But
as
surely we
there's
just
the
get-
long format stuff still out there, like, oh god, I love it when you find someone that's got a good blog still on the go and you get to actually read some like good stuff.
Final opinions on the topic.
I can't even remember what the question was.
Like,
Repurposing someone else's video, bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Making money from somebody else's work, bad.
creating content just to show some rad stuff with zero meaning behind it at all
I guess
is bad to me.
I guess it's just
Nah.
the ultimate question is, do we need a more nutritionally rich and substantial content diet, which is rather than like what the potentially roads leading down to, which is less and less longer form content and more shorter form, less informative content.
I think that's hard to disagree with. I think you
Yeah.
should digest media of very different formats and lengths. I think it's only
Yeah.
bad only watching short stuff
Yeah.
because it basically fries your brain, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a controversial question. I feel like that's maybe.
We all
No.
kind of agree.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find many people that would argue against it.
Okay. Well, let's move on.
But like, with the diet thing, most people don't have time to, like, your general population aren't meal prepping on a Monday for their nutritious meals for 7 days a week. Like, there is a way to make media that is good accessible to people, and yeah, I think there's a fine balance to be met. That because people like this media quite obviously like watching short stuff. You should make short stuff that is good and informative. It's not necessarily bad.
Okay, right. So, do you guys see a hypocrisy in climbers in general, sponsored athletes, businesses, whatever, going out to beautiful areas of the world, beautiful crags, highlighting how beautiful these areas are, how amazing the climbing is, getting loads of content, possibly even making money off it, and coming home saying that these places are amazing, but they're at danger of being too popular, being destroyed with over tourism, falling folly to all that entails. These places need to be protected after enjoying them ourselves. Like, the simple example would be when we were coming up to the Olympics and the old guard gatekeepers of the sport saying that the Olympics is going to destroy climbing, the crags are going to be way too busy, I want to be able to go to crags that are quiet. Do you see a hypocrisy in wanting to preserve these places for our own enjoyment but not wanting to let the rest of the world enjoy it as well? Like, I am absolutely all for protecting beautiful places and making sure they don't get destroyed. But if I'm going to be one of these people that's arguing this point, I cannot be one of the people that's going there. Period. Thoughts?
Surely, given that logic, we should all just stay in our houses and never use any outdoor environment that we damage. Well, we don't do damage every time we do anything. You go walking, you go climbing. The safest way to not do that is to never leave your house.
Yeah.
But leaving your house, you've got to heat it, and then that's going to damage the environment. And
So I think that I think we can continue to encourage climbing in different areas, but I think that as climbers, we need to teach a responsibility when we're going to these places of, say, like crag etiquette as well. But I also have this feeling that we don't have to climb everything. Really interesting, Tim Blake did a podcast with Aidan Roberts, literally just came out yesterday. And he's talking about
Robbie Phillips plugging someone else other than himself.
And he was talking about these rare mosses that grew on boulders and how they are being destroyed by climbers cleaning boulders to death. And that is something that I think happens a lot. We think as climbers that we need to climb every single part of a rock, every single section needs to have been climbed. But actually often on, say, like a boulder or a cliff, there's maybe only like one or two actually good lines. Why do we need to climb everything? Why does every single section need to be cleaned and climbed out and brushed and bolted? It doesn't necessarily. So I think if we're looking at how we as climbers moving forward want to take care of the places we're going to, maybe it's teaching that not everything needs to be climbed. Maybe some things need to be left alone for nature to have its own place.
how do we decide?
I'd say as long as the one that's getting climbed is the one that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's a question. As a developer, because I would call myself a bit of a developer. I like going and doing new routes.
Mm-hmm.
But when I go to climbing areas, I don't look at like crags and think I need to develop every single section of this rock. I basically look at the main features that look obvious to climb, and I would be like, well, I think the big obvious corner, there, that beautiful arête, maybe that like nice crack going up there looks obvious and to climb. Maybe not everything needs to be climbed.
What happens if someone else comes along and says, I don't like looking at that corner, it's a bit chossy, that arête, too balanced.
That corner's actually got really rare moss in the corner.
I love the blank face with no features, and I love the slab in between those two things.
Well, totally. Those are good questions. Talking about the moss, what about camel crag? The camel, yeah.
Camel.
You can't climb on parts of the camel
because
of the moss.
Yeah.
And I think that's totally legit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
been identified.
But surely the camel's an interesting one. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the bolts got put in and they did clean the moss off, the bolted bit. But someone came along and said, look, that's it. You can climb on what's been bolted, but nothing else. So in reality, if you take the hard line in that stance, all the bolts should be taken off and the moss should be allowed to regrow. But there's an arbitrary point there where someone was like, we've put the bolts in and done it, but you just can't go any further.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you were using the argument there of not everything needs to be climbed, going to a crag and not thinking, I need to develop more, like we're just going to climb what's already been done or the obvious line there or whatever. Like, I think we've all done first ascents. We've all been folly to turning up at crags and going, oh cool, this is totally unclimbed, I'm going to climb that big obvious feature. But you then climb that big obvious feature. Climbing in itself is a destructive act. Even on a minute scale, it's still a destructive act. And then record that somewhere, someone else wants to go and try it. After a while, hundreds of people have gone up to that crag and created a path up to it. Like, just the impact of us going to a place and climbing a thing and then publicising it, or mentioning to the world that this has been done and this is the only route there, whatever, starts that ball rolling.
Yeah, but maybe you can have like some crags where it's accepted that people are going to be climbing here. There's a trail that has maybe been purposefully built, so that people stick to the trail, so that we don't cause damage either side of the trail.
What about the other crags?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, maybe this is something that we can look forward to. We can look into, like, we identify.
I guess we do it to some extent, where there's certain cracks, so triple SIs, so that the camel is a site of special scientific interest. That's the definition of it. Yeah, so someone else, a non-climber, has said, look, there's this rare species that grows here, like, it can't be damaged, it needs to be preserved. Weem is a classic example of the little plant. It's really cool. Like, it grows out of the rocks, and it's got little pink flowers, and it's called sticky catchfly. Yeah. And it's really, really rare, and you're not meant to climb in certain places. There used to be a sign at Weem, a picture of the plant. So there's that exists already, where there's some external group of people, so botanists, I guess, who are interested in plants, who've said, look, we need to work together. You want to climb here, we want to preserve the plant. Climb on these bits, but leave these bits for this plant to grow. So I suppose it's not new. There is compromises like that exist. Another classic example that you'll know about is birds, right?
Of course, yeah.
You don't climb during, like, nesting season. That's the whole Hoy thing, wasn't it? You tried it, but it wasn't the right.
The tricky bit's the compromise, though, isn't it? Because you could ask a botanist for their opinion, they might say, don't climb anything.
The tricky bit for me, and the reason I'm asking it is, you're saying that there might be crags where it's like, oh, this is, we've built a path up to it, this reduces the damage everywhere else, we're going to have these pre-existing lines, don't develop anything else, whatever. But what about the crags where it's like, okay, we've climbed this thing, that line exists, but we don't want that to get too popular because there is protected mosses or, nice. But like, we've then gone and done a thing, enjoyed it, publicised it, but if you've done that and then you find out afterwards, oh, there's a rare moss there, you just adapt. There's obviously going to be some damage in it, but at least it's not going to be continued. Or if you identify where the moss is and you work with like the botanists or the whoever the governing body of flora and fauna in the area.
Who is the governing body for flora and fauna?
I don't know. Anyway, you work with them to find out whatever is suitable, for this specific crag or this specific area.
I guess the interesting thing that happens is when you can't find a resolution, where, I don't know, that's the difficult thing about
but that's
this.
It. But that's exactly it. Like, you don't find a resolution. Well, not everything needs to be climbed. There's enough rock, in the world that we can accept and not climb some things.
True, but there is some things that we have to accept we can climb.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a problem either. I think it's just reducing our impact.
But you might have the hardline climbers, like you're talking about, that think everything that should be climbed. But you have the hardline.
Well, they're wrong.
Well, but what about the hardline bird watchers? I think every cliff should be like the domain of animals and insects, and no climbing.
I think that I actually agree, but I think that my point is, I think that we can do some things in harmony, and in many ways I think that this connection that climbers have to these natural landscapes, these really amazing places where animals live on the wall, or there are things there that it strengthens that connection that human beings have to nature. It makes us more aware of our surroundings. It makes us more likely to make the right decisions in the future. I think that is. No, you're shaking my head.
I don't like nature, Rob. I want a latte machine halfway up the route, so I can get like a top up.
Actually,
a McDonald's at the bottom and
yeah.
No, I'm taking the piss, but
well, I think an interesting thing that I think Robert's question kind of alluded to is that we want these places to be quiet and this kind of like solitude, and we're connecting with nature and blah blah blah, but then we post about it being quiet and it being beautiful, and we would get pissy if it was filled with tourists, yet we're still going there and making it not quiet.
I don't see it like that. Like, honestly, when I go to Crags and they're really busy, like, I like it. I really like seeing loads of people out there.
You see people
What about
posting.
Neast?
You see people
Neast.
post.
Neast.
They're not climbing. though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's okay when they share the same values as you and they're there for climbing, but if they're not there for climbing, then they're
Where have
tourists,
you where have you seen it happening then? So you
Neast Point.
But
Have you
again,
seen,
like-
cars backed up or anywhere.
and you think that's a direct result of climbers having promoted this?
No, I think it's tourism having promoted this, but we're also there being tourists, but just of a different kind.
I think if they're
Of rocks.
there, it
I
doesn't.
mean, I don't really have a problem with
It
it.
doesn't matter if they're not climbers. If they're there and they're enjoying whatever they're doing, I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably a
Of course you
bit
have a problem with it.
So I have a problem with what?
Of course you have a problem with it
What,
because
tourists?
what's going on at Neast with like.
I don't understand. I
public-
don't know
as
the
pub-
least example.
Well, so Neast Point out on Skye is a really good climbing venue, amazing climbing venue, but it's also a really popular place for tourists to go because it's beautiful to look at.
And are the tourists causing like obvious damage? to the
Absolute chaos.
the problem
Right,
isn't
what-
the tourists.
what-
The
Back to back to
problem is
back
the
to back
behaviour.
cars, like
It's a little.
The-
It's like Glenetive. It's a little single track road. All the laybys are getting destroyed with parked cars all over the place. The little car park at the end is forever full, and people are parking all over the place, trashing the grass. The paths down to the place will, with the amount of people going down, it will eventually be eroded to hell and need fixed. Yeah, and this Niche Point is an example of how it starts and what you posted the other day about the potential risk down in Coachamo of this developer guy coming in and developing this area to allow more tourists. Is what he's doing is developing an area to allow tourists places to go so that they can come and enjoy it. And the more that we go out and enjoy these places and publicize it, the more people are going to see that, the more people are going to want to go there. And we don't want that to happen, so we call for protections, yet we call for protections while still going there and enjoying it
No,
ourselves.
it's not that we don't want more people to go there. I think that
So we want to protect it.
And we
It's
don't
that we
want
want
the
to protect the
destruction that comes
environment.
along with that.
that's two different things, though,
But
right?
if you
Well,
wanted
so-
to protect the environment that much, then
You shouldn't
wouldn't-
go there. That's what I'm saying. Is there's a hypocrisy, and if you don't want too many people going there to the point where it's destroying it, then you shouldn't be one of the people that's going there.
Anything you do in life is going to impact something. Like, you've just got to choose whether that impact is worth it. Driving around Nice on a quad bike, like
And also-
tearing up the grass, isn't great. But if people want to go and enjoy a tourist spot, then cool.
And if we're stopping people from going out and enjoying the outdoors, they're going to have less a connection with the outdoors. I mean, they're less likely to want to actually support environmental initiatives.
I'm not saying that we should.
Robert.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't go out and enjoy these places. I'm saying, do you not see the hypocrisy in it? In calling for protection of these places, which is going to limit the amount of people that can go there or limit where people can go, yet thinking that we still have the freedom to go anywhere we want and develop anything that we like.
Well, maybe limiting or managing it is something that needs to be done for those popular venues. But you know what? I think there's a lot of places in Scotland where just nobody goes. Like, like one place I was climbing recently was Ben Loyal. Went up there for a few days. So one person, as in one walker. So these places that are always going to remain fairly wild and they're quite remote, so they're not going to be as popular. So maybe it's just looking at how you manage those more popular places, allowing certain numbers of people, maybe making a dedicated car park in some situations, further down to allow it so that there's not as many cars coming up. I don't know. There's numerous ways you could look into it.
This is like an age-old argument, though. It's like, okay, Ben Nevis is a classic example. Like, the tourist track up Ben Nevis gets trashed with people walking up it, loads of litter. It's like, really, everyone wants to climb Ben Nevis, right? That's the thing that people want to do. So I guess what they've chosen to do there is accept that that is always going to be a problem of more people using that environment than it's able to handle. But the trade-off is, like, there's loads of wild places like half an hour from Ben Nevis if you want solitude. So you can kind of have both. There'll be places where they need to be managed, like Robbie says, to avoid like them getting trashed. But at least they're a honeypot, and it's not that those people are then spreading out and going everywhere. So both people can be happy.
Again, I'm not saying that people shouldn't go and enjoy it. And I'm not saying that there's not solutions to the masses turning up to a place. I'm saying we're calling for protections while still feeling that we have the freedom to go and play and advertise everywhere that we want.
But we might not, because so the interesting example you put forward is Coachamo, right?
Yeah.
Coachamo is in southern Chile. It's in
Yeah.
northern Patagonia, and it is regarded as the Yosemite of South America. But the difference between the two places is that Yosemite is a national park, and it's massively, built up. There's hotels, there's restaurants, there's a road going straight through the park, super accessible. Whereas Kochimo retains very much this. It's been like the same way for a long, long time. There's like this old dirt track leading up into the valley from the trailhead, which is a dirt road, which is really only accessible by like a decent car. You then take like horses in, if you don't walk along this muddy trail, into the valley, and in the valley there's a couple of campsites where you can set up a tent. There's no like hotels or restaurants or anything. You've got to walk in with your own food. It's that sort of place. And you compare Yosemite and this place, and Yosemite allows as many people through the gates a day as they want, whereas Kochimo actually limits it to only a certain number of people. Only a certain number of people are actually allowed within the park at any one time. So you're saying, the hypocrisy of like us being able to go and do whatever we want. Maybe we won't. Maybe we will be part of that number, So say there are 200 people in at one time. Well, that's going to include climbers. Yeah. So we're advocating to protect these places. We're advocating for legislation to potentially limit numbers at certain times, but we're going to be part of that. I think it's because we go to these places and we experience it, we spend time in nature, and we see the damage that can be done over time, that we are the ones that can actually speak up for these places.
But these places are only at risk because we've been going and playing at these places.
Well, Robbie's point, going back to what you said earlier, if you make it hard for anyone to do anything outside, people have no appreciation for nature anyway, and they'll probably think, just bulldoze it and do whatever you want with it, because I don't care. So there's a trade-off between let people go and enjoy it so they actually appreciate it and want to conserve it, versus if you don't let them do that, they will not care whatsoever, and you end up with massive cities and no green space.
And I don't think there's no hypocrisy. I mean, like, we're advocating, as I just said, we're advocating to protect these places because we've spent time in these places. So we're trying to protect them for us, but for other people as well, and for the future. I don't understand what the hypocrisy is.
I can't think of any examples where people advocate climbing somewhere, but then right afterwards would say that you shouldn't go climbing. It seems like very specific. Is there an actual example you're thinking of? Or
You tell me that you've not complained about tourists on the North Coast 500 roads.
I feel like I've not really spent that much time driving around the North Coast 500 to really know. It's not the way I would appreciate the outdoors, but if that's how other people appreciate the outdoors, I don't really have an issue with it. Like I say, I think if you were...
It seems like there's more people than the environment can handle, yet we are also one of those people.
Yeah. And still are fighting to be one of those people. Kochimo, the example Robbie just gave of them limiting the numbers to whatever you said, like 200 people or whatever, and climbers are going to be part of that. But climbers are part of the crew advocating for protecting that land because it's so beautiful, yet we still want to be part of the people that are still allowed to go there. But if you are actually advocating for protecting that land, then you just shouldn't go there. I understand that it's beautiful and we should be appreciating nature and all that, but if we really want
where do you want to stay? A bloody city?
That seems like
sit indoors.
That's like a straw man argument. There's no one that...
That's why I'm flipping opposing this. Don't play that out.
Criticise me for having too strong an argument here.
But it's not a strong argument though. It's a weak argument.
It's not a weak argument. I'm asking, do you not see the hypocrisy in advocating for protecting these lands, but still trying to protect ourselves a little space to go and enjoy these lands? If you really want to protect these places, you just shouldn't go to these places.
Then why did
no one is saying that. No. There's no one that's actually saying that opinion. No one is saying this is a great place to climb, but no one should climb here.
I am.
Yeah.
But you go climbing everywhere.
Yes, and I'm saying I do it with hypocrisy. But I'm still going to go to these places. I'm still going to want to go and climb in these places. But I understand that me doing that is having an effect on the environment. But me advertising that to the rest of the world is going to encourage more people to go to that place and further impact the environment.
Advocating protection does not equal do not do it. They're not the same things. You can advocate to protect land in the way that we've talked about, where it's about managing people going there, not banning
any management of people going to a place is still going to have a destructive impact.
Yeah,
that's life.
We're not. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I know that that's life, but I'm not asking whether it's right or wrong. I'm asking, do you see the hypocrisy in it?
I feel it's not hypocritical if it's like a ticketed system and you're being a part of the ticketed system. It'd be hypocritical if
I go
you were
climbing,
like,
you're not
oh,
allowed
this
to go.
ticketed system's total bullshit. Oops.
It's hypocritical to go back to the Nice thing to say I should be able to climb here, but these tourists in their cars can get to fuck because they're not climbers. Like that is genuinely.
I'm pretty sure your words were like quite close to that when we were at Nice.
To be fair, to go back to that, the reason I got pissed off at Nice comes back to the management thing. I'm not pissed off at tourists doing touristy things. I'm pissed off at tourists launching bin bags out their windows and just leaving. Like, the issue I have is the behaviour of bad tourists. Like, I don't have an issue with people that enjoy things in a different way than I do. I've got a problem with people that have no respect for the outdoor
But sometimes
environment.
commercialising that is a part of fixing it. But a lot of the time, people are against commercialising wild spaces.
What does commercialising mean? Everything's commercialised.
Yeah, putting in facilities.
How do you get to Nice?
Yeah, a road.
There's a
But
road.
Yeah, but people were very against. I'm trying to think of things. Yeah, if there were toilets.
I mean, I have
Things like
zero issue with putting toilets at Nice. I think the issue there is
like
money.
keep wild spaces wild and blah 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 blah. But
Keep wild spaces wild, but full of
Should
shit.
we continue?
Yes,
In
we
the
should.
process? I think we can all agree that Robert was wrong.
Yeah.
And let's
We're
just
actually looking for a
I
new...
think there's going to be people that understand what the hell I was trying to say there.
let's just get on with the next question.
I'm trying. Yeah. I think there's people that will back me up there.
Okay, should we go next question?
Next
Yes.
question.
Yours.
Was it my question?
Yeah.
So I'm going to change the tone of the conversation from very like environmental, ethical questions.
Argumentative.
I don't know, this could still be argumentative, but kind of more indoor climbing sort of world. I've been going through the process of, I suppose, doing a lot of coaching recently. So delivering sort of coaching courses, so coach education and also coaching climbers and helping them get a bit better and enjoy climbing a bit more and get some more value out of their climbing journey. And a lot of that has got me thinking about what is it that makes someone a good coach and what makes someone a bad coach, and can those things be assessed well? So what is it that makes someone good at coaching, and in an assessment can you concretely say that person is a great coach? And
Surely-
that's my question.
Surely there's just a number of criteria that you kind of individually assess. There's a number of things that make coaches, good.
So the reason I think this is because so coaching, I think, is a lot about interpersonal skills, right? It's about how you relate to other people and how you communicate with other people.
It's part of it.
Whereas if you think about other qualifications where you've got to learn quite hard skill based things like how to do a rope system or navigate in a certain way, if we're talking about like outdoor qualifications, whereas they are very easy to say you did that right, you did that wrong, and outcome was fine. But when you're talking about relationships between people, it's a lot harder to say, well, you did that right, you did that wrong, because people all relate with each other in different, very, very different ways.
It's the same with loads of professions, though.
Yeah.
Like, of course, there are still key bits of knowledge that you've got to have, like, I don't know, the triangle, gravity. I can't remember my fun dads.
Understanding the basics of, say, understanding fundamental
base of
techniques.
support, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Could you be a good climbing coach and not know that, though?
But wait a second.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I think it'd be easier if you did know this stuff. Because I'm studying midwifery, you can get a nursing or midwifery degree and have all those bits of knowledge and still be a rubbish nurse or midwife because you're bad with people. You're not going to fail your degree because you're bad with people. You might actually, but it's a harder thing to pick up on. Yes, you can have all of this coaching stuff and you can still be a bad coach.
But that's a bit silly coming back to your midwifery thing. Like, why would you let someone pass a degree if they can't do the thing they're meant to do?
Because they're safe.
Yeah. If you're not going to kill people.
It's a low barrier, though, isn't it?
And that's wrong. Actually, you won't get signed off on certain. There is quite a lot
So-
of like interpersonal stuff, but they there are people that can be very good because they're really good at reading people and getting on with people. They have really good interpersonal skills. They have really good social skills. But this is far harder to assess, and I don't really think it can be fully assessed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Climbing coaching is, or coaching in general.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think also it's kind of what you're saying. Like, some people work better with others. You know, there's different personalities. I think that's also taken into consideration. Some coaches might be better working with young children, whilst others are better working with teenagers. Some people are better working with introverts. Some people are better working with extroverts. So, you know, maybe those interpersonal skills, it just changes depending on who you're working with.
If you were assessed as a coach and you were great at working with extroverts, but you were given 2 introverts to coach, would that person then be failed?
Well, I think it's having an understanding of how different people perhaps learn. I know that having coached many people over the years, I know that I work well with certain types of people, and I think there's been a couple of times, particularly working with young people during my time as Scottish team coach, that there were certain kids who I thought, you know what, I think they would work better with a different coach, someone I had in mind for a period of time, and then maybe I would just have some small bits of influence at different times, or we'd swap clients. I think it just depends, really. Yeah.
Rubbish.
So what?
Rubbish.
Rubbish or what?
Rubbish. Being a good coach can definitely be assessed. Your question is basically, can soft skills that people learn through any kind of coaching qualification or anything, can they be assessed? Yes, because coaching, like you said, is an interpersonal thing. You need to be able to build relationships with someone, work with them at their level, and develop them from whatever level they are to a next step. No matter what that next step is, it's about being able to link with people and develop them in some way. And the soft skills that go along with that are not just being able to recognize what their weaknesses are, but being able to recognize where your knowledge is and how to tailor your delivery of that knowledge so that it actually is taken in by the person that you're working with. So a good coach can work with anybody. Introvert, extrovert, how they learn, it doesn't matter. They can be employed by absolutely anybody, and they'll be able to tailor their delivery and their knowledge to a way that impacts on that person. And that can be assessed.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
But I also think that still some people work better with others, and there's relationships.
Absolutely, but a good coach can work with anybody.
I actually...
A coach can be good at working with certain people and not so good with other people, but a really good coach can work with everybody at the same.
Yeah.
Surely that would mean that coach isn't being authentic then, because then you're just kind of you're mirroring.
Who's authentic? Who doesn't put on different faces? Are you telling me that you talk to a parent in the exact same way you talk to their 8-year-old child?
I'm not saying that people aren't always authentic. I'm saying that I think people that are probably happier in life are authentic more of the time than people who have to put on facades constantly.
But there's a facade and there's tailoring your delivery.
Yeah,
it's a different thing. You're not putting on a false representation of yourself. But it's just how you're explaining things is different.
I can see Robbie's point of view though. So if you're a coach and you like working with extroverts, surely you're a great coach because you are reflective enough to know that and you choose to work with those people. And if you know someone is an introvert,
I actually agree with both of you, because I it's funny, I agree that you can, be assessed on coaching overall, and I believe there are good coaches who can tailor their style to suit an individual. But I know firsthand that I've worked with some of like top climbers in Scotland who, when they were small, and I remember one specific session with one young climber, and it was like I had a few sessions, and it was obvious to me they weren't responding, to me as well as other young climbers I'd worked with. And the question I had at the time was, am I the best coach for this person? And I decided that I didn't think I was at that time. I still wanted to have influence and input on what they were doing. So I sought out a different coach a friend who I thought would work much better with this young climber, and they ended up taking them on, and they worked for many years, had a great relationship with this young climber who has gone on to do some really awesome stuff. I'm not going to say who they are though.
And I'm going to say something that was in my head, and it's not really related to what you just said, but it's going to come across as I'm calling you a bad coach. I'm not. But anybody can be a coach. Anybody can call themselves a coach. If you work with someone and try and help them in some way, you are coaching them, whether it's good or bad. It doesn't matter. A bad coach, in air quotes, can only coach one type of person in one type of way. And at the point where you're not able to coach that person because they're just not connecting with you, and you can't tailor your advice to be able to connect with them, or you can't tailor your personality to be able to connect with them, then you need to refer them on to someone who does have the trait that's going to work with them well.
But I think
whereas a really good coach can tailor their personality or delivery method or explanations of certain things to connect with anybody of any personality type. And that can be assessed. Like, someone can be an okay coach, but doesn't really work that well with extroverts. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad coach. It just means you're not that good at this person. But a good coach can go, okay, that person's an extrovert. I'm going to completely change how I deliver stuff.
But you are saying that person's a bad coach. You're saying a better coach than them would be someone that could deliver
it's
to
a spectrum,
anyone.
isn't it? But a really good coach can get on with most people.
Yeah, exactly. Most, but it's never going to be everyone.
You're never going to be perfect.
I don't think it can be assessed, because the assessment is like a strict criteria. Like, you have to do, this might be wrong actually, but like guided discovery. It's all about guided discovery. I bloody hate that guided discovery.
It's not about that. No, the assessment part of the assessment. Can you take, like, for the part of the assessment,
assessor's preferred teaching style. You're ticking the boxes of an assessor's preferred teaching style, and if you do the thing, if you knew that who your assessor is, and if you do the things that you know that assessor likes, you get the big gold star. Right?
Okay, there is an element of that, but the whole criteria of the assessment for the part where you're, in the assessment you get given to brand new people to you, and by the end of the session you need to have worked with them and developed them in some way. Mm-hmm. The tick the box exercise there is, can you recognise a weakness that they've got? Can you give them some information that helps them work on that weakness? Can you develop them in any way? And it doesn't matter whether you do it through guided discovery or just straight up drawing it as a picture on a board. It makes no difference.
No, you would get told off if you told them what to do.
Not necessarily. There have been people that have been passed at assessments who, by the end of the session, people have been developed. They've got new information.
So
they're able to demonstrate
that they passed and they were the worst coaches ever.
There's been examples.
So you would almost say that the assessment didn't work.
Yeah, if you've got a bad coach who gets passed, that doesn't make any sense. The assessment didn't work.
What's a fail in coaching? Surely a pass in coaching is someone that comes away from working with you that's better than when they came in.
A pass in coaching says you're a good coach.
But what makes a good coach?
Exactly, it can be assessed.
It can be assessed. Like, if you work with someone and they come away better than when they came in, then you've done a good...
What if they came away better than they came in, but they didn't like you? They didn't want to see you again.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
They will once they realise they can now climb 9B.
Yeah.
It's kind of the problem with any skill that you train or assess that is based on working with other people. Like, you can be trained and assessed in a hard skill of like how you wire something or how you do something that connects two things. But as soon as you're assessed in your ability to work with other people in some way, you're always going to have that problem of...
It's just subjective.
There's an element of subjectivity in working with other humans.
Yeah. But the assessment is, can you work with different people? Can you take your information and deliver it in a way that works with that person, regardless of who they are?
Yeah.
And a good coach will get past the assessment if they can tailor their information to that certain person. A bad coach isn't going to be able to do that, and they can only ever draw the picture thing.
Surely
Yeah.
a bad coach is just being authentic, though. If that's what they feel like they are as a person, they're not going to change themselves to deliver.
But they
to-
might be a
doesn't make
really
you a
good
good
coach
coach.
for somebody
Yeah.
else.
So it's about finding the right coach,
And
the
just
right
because
person,
you're not working
about
well with someone
saying a-
doesn't make you a bad coach.
No, but that's not how you're going to be assessed.
But I think
You're going to be assessed based on
I don't
can
think
you.
I just don't think that being able to assess a coach necessarily identifies them. If they could pass an assessment, doesn't necessarily mean they're the best coach.
No.
You know, it might mean that they could pass the assessment with flying colours, but it might mean they're, a good coach. You know, they can do everything pretty well, but they aren't necessarily the best coach. Whereas you could find someone who might pass the assessment, but they struggle to work with a certain type of individual, but they work really, really, really well with these people. And so when they work with these people, they're phenomenal. And when they get these other people, they're like, well, it doesn't really work out with these individuals. So it'd be much more efficient just to,
But
get
does that
somebody
make
else.
you a good coach?
I think it still makes you a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
You're good at coaching a certain type of person, but
Yeah.
to come back to the
But
assessment
you asked
thing,
if you could be assessed at it.
maybe the point of the assessment is they're trying to. So if you're a coach and you don't get to choose, maybe the assessors don't think you get to choose who your clients are. So when they pass people, they want to pass people that will do the most good, so that it can be the most adaptable when they're given a random group of people.
In the real world, can we choose our clients?
Well, this is it. Yeah, yes, we can. This is the point. I actually think a good coach is someone who can identify when they can't teach this person anymore. That is a very important point.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
But say you're a coach in the climbing wall.
Shut up. I know some coaches who held on far too long to the young kids that they were coaching because they didn't want to let go because they'd spent so long coaching.
Definitely could have worded that better.
No. Was that?
You're going to get yourself in trouble, Robbie.
Am I?
This isn't going to the podcast, but that was
Right.
a very suspect use of no.
Oh man, I mean, you could think of anybody.
Anyway, sorry.
I'll reword it.
No, don't reword it.
I
No,
get where you're coming
It
from.
didn't sound that bad.
I think that you can hold on to coach clients far too long, beyond the point where you really have, much more to coach them. I mean, you can continue to mentor them and to support them, but sometimes you're like, you know what, this person needs a more tailored approach. Someone who's got more the specialized skills. This person needs to take their climbing to the next level. Maybe, they're a boulderer, and you've taken them up to the stage where you can take them, but really they need somebody who's a specialist high-end boulderer to really nail the specifics. Someone who's got the experience of tactically working hard projects to give them that knowledge and that experience.
Okay.
Oh, I kind of disagree with that, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Because maybe if that's what that person needs, but maybe that person doesn't need that. Maybe they need just a friendly face.
Well, totally.
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, some people don't need that really tailored. Like they.
I think you're right and wrong, because I think that you're right. Coaching is about supporting, and I think that just supporting an individual is fine, but sometimes you don't have what it takes to give them the knowledge or the tactics they need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, so you then go, right, well, I can still have input in this person's progression, but you know what, the Coach John would be really good, because Coach John knows all about this very specific
why don't
thing.
we can ask for some advice from.
Let's get Coach John
A, B, or
involved.
C.
Yeah.
Just
And,
being able to collaborate with other people.
They decided they want to take up competition bouldering or competition. Keep going to bouldering.
This is a great scenario, but it does not work in the real world.
Yes, it does.
In a climbing wall,
Are you
if
kidding
you
me?
are a coach for a youth
You're
squad,
employed.
if you're employed in a climbing wall, you're a coach for a youth squad. It's the parents and the kids' choice to come to that wall. You don't get a choice which kids come to your session.
Maybe they come because you're there.
Quite possibly. But are the coaches at TCA going to go, right, okay, actually you need some lead climbing coaching. We're going to take you and send you to the GCC youth squad instead of the TCA youth squad?
Well, I mean,
No, because that would impact on the business and your manager would be freaking raging with you. And if you're a freelance coach, you've got bills to pay. You probably cannot be that picky at the clients that come to you.
I was.
You're a sponsored athlete. You
I
don't
know.
count.
When I was a professional climbing coach, I
But
made decisions.
Robbie's point is that makes him a good coach, is when he can say no to clients.
Yeah, but I'm
and it
saying
doesn't
I'm
happen
saying
all
a
the
good.
time. It's not like I'm gonna be really picky
Yeah.
and only.
It's
like,
usually
you're
very-
really good at adapting. It's just
Yeah.
that you also can realize, oh, I'm not getting.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not getting on very well, but I'm gonna need to collaborate with somebody else.
But in my mind, this is going to come across horribly, Robbie. I do apologise. In my mind, a really good coach can work with anybody that they are given.
They can work with anybody, but
It's
they've
just
got a
gonna-
limit to what they can offer.
And it's gonna be
Absolutely.
emotionally
I have a limit to
draining.
what I can
It's-
offer. I know that.
Then are you just going to hold on to that person and never
I'm not
let
going
them
to
go?
hold on to them. I will be honest. That I've reached the limit here, but I don't get the choice of who I work with. If you choose to keep coming to me,
But that's it.
I have a limit. You have to accept that, but I don't get to make that choice.
But I guess that's the difference between what you're talking about. You're talking about like a youth club that you're talking about like a group of kids that come in after school to like the youth team or whatever. Yeah. Whereas maybe I'm talking more about one-to-one personal coaching. So
And
You know,
that's what I'm
and
saying,
actually,
one
if-
personal
if the
coaches
children-
have got bills to pay,
if the
they
children-
can't be picky over who comes to them.
well, then I would argue that you're not doing it for the betterment of that climber, but only for your own financial gain. And I'd say that makes a bad coach.
They probably also use like 3-second Instagram stories.
Exactly.
That'd be a great cop out for an assessment, though. Actually, I'm not the best coach for this. You should really phone Robert and get him to do
If
this
you're,
assessment
if
for
you're
me.
a freelance coach and you need to work with a certain number of people to be able to pay for your rent, your car, transport costs, food costs, and all this stuff, you need to work with that number of people. If 20 people come to you and you need 20 people, you can't be picky about who you work with.
I'm going to be really
But you're
boring
talking about
again.
you're talking like 1 in 20.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
like
You're not talking about
half
every
and
single
half.
person.
Because a really good coach can work with most of those 20 people really well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's getting over the idea that coaching is more than just training someone. It's more than teaching skills, but it's also support for that individual.
Which I feel like
Counselling.
can't be assessed.
Yeah.
I feel like that can't be assessed.
I guess it can be
I
accessed.
think it can be assessed because it's still you're taking someone from stage A to stage B. And it doesn't matter how you get them there. It's stage A to stage B. You are tailoring the way you deliver. You're tailoring the way you explain things. You're potentially tailoring your personality to get that. And if you can demonstrate in an assessment that I have changed how I'm delivering stuff, that is a sign of a good coach.
Nah,
A
you've
sign
got
of-
to have boxes to tick, and if there's boxes to tick, it's not.
So what are the boxes?
That's an assessment. That is pass or fail.
Yeah, but the boxes are way more open than do you know how to deliver this X? Do you know how to explain a rock over?
I think it's too subjective to be assessed on.
So there's no
There's
answer
nothing
here.
I disagree. I
That's
think
what
it
we-
is.
Yeah, we are at a
I
strong
think-
disagreement.
I think you can assess the subjective side. I think you can.
Yeah, I think there's elements that you can definitely
It's about-
assess it for sure. But I mean, I don't think it's you are the best coach. Is when you are passable. You can do this.
Oh yeah, like I don't think anybody's ever passed an assessment as like the top dog.
It's like,
Like,
yeah,
it's
well
always
done,
like
you're
you-
not a knob.
Yeah.
And you have some knowledge on
Yeah.
climbing technique.
Amazing.
I don't think.
Well, I mean,
it's-
how
I think-
do support workers get assessed? I guess that's the same
They
thing.
don't really get assessed, though, do they?
Yeah, I guess it's.
They don't get assessed.
I think,
You do like training course.
I guess
Well, okay,
to,
then that's what I mean.
Yeah.
to try and sum this up, so
There's a rock in.
what makes a great coach? Someone that is able to relate to the people they work with seems to be common.
Yeah.
And then on the assessment front, I think Robert says yes. And I think from a pragmatic view, he's right that coaches are assessed to be able to work with people that are maybe different from them and to adapt their style. But I do also agree with Robbie that in an ideal world, in an assessment, if you had people that didn't suit you, it would be legit and a great coach to say, look, like, this isn't my bag. These people don't suit me. There's someone else that would be much better.
Yeah. I
So I
think
think-
they're assessed to be adequate, not to be great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah,
But surely that's the point of anything. You're assessed to be able to do
the job.
the job and not necessarily be the best at it.
Mhm.
Doctors pass.
I mean,
But I think you're not
actually, with coaching,
great without an
with
assessment.
with the coaching qualifications, there's obviously like skill-based modules in there. But at the end of the day, the assessment is that not mainly so you can get insured, so you can do the job. Am I right about
You
that?
can get insurance without qualifications.
Can you?
It's a bit harder, a bit more expensive, but you can do it.
Right. Okay.
I think that, I guess the other thing on the qualifications front is anyone that goes through the qualifications would become better just because it is forcing them to be more reflective.
Exactly.
About
Yeah.
themselves.
I agree
can
with that,
argue
yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Going through that training and assessment will
Yeah.
make you better at a coach, but
Yeah.
make you better as a coach.
Cool.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Some disagreement.
Yeah. I'm mainly with Robert. I think
Yeah.
us three, I think we're mainly against Robert, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm reading the development coach assessment criteria just to make sure, and I'm 100% right.
Wait, right about what? This doesn't have to be in the podcast, but
Right about what? So
Are we?
the actual coaching part of the assessment is demonstrate a basic knowledge of learning styles, demonstrate the ability to adapt coaching style to meet individual needs.
I don't know
How
what.
can you
have you
assess
done-
that with one client? Like, if you're given clients.
Yeah.
How can you assess that once?
that's
But
a
you
problem.
don't assess it once.
That's a problem with assessments, generally.
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
just
well, yeah.
coaching assessments.
But you don't, like, in an assessment, you get the clients you've been working with for 6 weeks, you've already built a rapport with, and you get two random people to do
Yeah.
the random bit with. Two different people.
So you'd hope by the
By
laws
the
of
end of it,
numbers,
you've got
yeah.
a whole picture. That's how it works. And it's being able to adapt your coaching style to the people that you're working with.
Unless you happen to coach two twins and then
Assess-
their other two twins turn up as the random clients.
Jamie.
And speak to people.
Yeah.
Nice burp, Roo. Right, do you think that was controversial enough then?
I don't know.
No, I actually think we need someone that isn't us
Yeah, I agree.
to argue with.
Yeah. Kirsty Palace was going to be here, but we organised this way too short notice for her, unfortunately. She had a really good one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We can save it
I
for
don't want to
next
bring it
week.
up because she will be involved in the next one for sure.
So I mean, we could do another one in a couple of months' time.
Yeah.
Either
5
Wait.
episodes time.
yeah. I mean, if
Don't know, you guys get punted, so there's 4 of us, or
Yeah.
are we just adding someone else?
Callum.
I mean, I'm happy to be punted. I'm just happy to be like a little guest every now and again. You guys all live so
I
close.
don't want to be here.
You guys all live so close together. It seems easy.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming round and actually being able to do. This is the first controversial podcast we've done face to face.
It is, yeah.
Every other one we've done over Zoom. So this has been cool having everybody round. Thank you very much. Thank you, Robbie, for joining us again. Callum, you don't get a thank you because you're part of the team anyway. Becca, pleasure as always. Rue, star guest. You didn't make too much noise in the middle of that. Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers. Hope you guys all enjoyed today's Scott Rock podcast on climbing controversies. If there's one thing we all agreed on though, it's always buddy check. Stay safe out there, guys.